Your spiritual awakening. It's often portrayed as an incredibly enlightening, uplifting, expansive process. But is there a hidden dark side that nobody's really talking about? Are there things you're going to have to give up during this path as you walk on it to self discovery, self growth, and infinite expansion? In this video, we're going to look at exactly that. Let's get right into it. So, what is a spiritual awakening? A spiritual awakening is a process of realizing our true inner purpose and establishing a greater connection to our body and mind while raising to our highest vibration, emotionally, physically, psychologically. It is the very reason souls assign themselves to this very temporary human experience to experience one of these greatest joys of life, which is the spiritual awakening. There are millions of people on the planet right now waking up, uplifting their level of consciousness, and seeing the way the world really works. This has made them reflect on their own realities and made them realize possibly that they are the creators of their own realities. There's many realizations, of course, that come with a spiritual awakening, but these have been some of the most significant for me. I started this process of spiritual awakening roughly 2.5 years ago, and it has been a roller coaster ride. And I can truly say I'm nowhere near the person I was back then. But there are some things I initially felt that could have easily swayed me back on the path that I was on, very easily, and I would have never got to experience the incredible, expansive states of spiritual awakening later on in my journey. So, what were some of these challenges? Well, when I first started going through this, I remember going through some serious mental health issues as a paramedic. I felt very lost and disconnected to the world. I would often spend a lot of time alone. I didn't want to interact with anybody, even at work. I was normally known as a very social, open guy. And it felt weird, probably to many people around me, when I was sitting alone in the ambulance, not socializing with anyone or not wanting to talk to hospital staff unless I really had to. Feeling disconnected from others is very normal when you're first starting to realize your spiritual awakening. You may even feel disconnected from yourself. And I certainly felt this feeling where I had no idea who I really was. I felt sort of shallow and empty. I didn't have a meaning to my life, and I sort of went through a depression phase. In addition to feeling disconnected from others, you may feel really disconnected with yourself. You may have a sort of existential crisis and be questioning every aspect of who you are, and if that's a real presentation of who you are. You may start to realize your inner dialogue and how that's different from your outer dialogue with you, the way you interact with the world. You may start to see the incongruencies between the two, and that may make you really sad. But that is also very normal while you're going through this process, and your feelings are completely valid. Occupation misery. I was a paramedic for almost a decade, and I loved the job. I loved interacting with people, being a part of my community, making an impact on the world, and showing up on the worst days of someone's life, and doing that over and over again. I did not have a problem with that. But as I started going through my spiritual awakening, there's a sort of occupation misery that came up. I started to see all the things I didn't like about my occupation, the things I was shoving down and pushing down under the rug and ignoring them because I didn't want to deal with those things. And part of that did have to do with PTSD and mental health. Of course, being a paramedic was not all roses, and there were some dark sides of that occupation, which became more glaringly obvious than ever when I started going through this process. But this feeling, which was unavoidable, I couldn't shove it down any longer, forced me to ask for help. And through this process of help and healing and connecting with my soul, I have gone through the better parts of a spiritual awakening. Questioning relationships. When I first started going through this process, I was questioning everything. One of the things I questioned myself on the most was the people I surrounded myself with. I started questioning my relationships, who I was being surrounded by, how their emotions and feelings and thought forms were impacting my life, and became more obvious than ever. I definitely lost some people along the way, which was one of the harder parts of the spiritual awakening. The decision to leave someone behind, especially when you have a sunk cost fallacy, you spent a long time with them, they're either a lover, a girlfriend, a friend, and having to leave them behind so you can continue to grow is one of the hardest aspects of a spiritual awakening, and is probably the reason why many people will not walk the path and make it to the other side. Every time you leave someone behind and you move on to the next step, you'll become a magnet for your soul tribe and the people that are meant to be in your life. The people that help you move the needle in your life and will offer you incredible value towards your true purpose. The last one here is questioning your values. You may not even be aware of your values before your spiritual awakening. But once I started going through this process, I realized I was self sabotaging myself with these values I was subconsciously holding from a very young age. When we grow up, we get taught values from whoever our guardians or parents are. They pass down what they believe they value the most. And we take these on subconsciously and carry them on throughout our life. But as you go through a spiritual awakening, at some point, you're going to realize how these values have shaped and affected your life. And then you're going to take back control and you're going to realize that you can change these values and reorganize the things that you value in life. And as a result, it will change the probabilities and outcomes you experience in your life. Now, going through this process, there will be some very dark side effects that come up that you have to acknowledge as being normal, and being aware of them will help you keep going down this path. One of them being energetic sensitivity. You'll find when things that you used to not trigger you at all, or used to be able to brush off and be very open-minded and easygoing about, are now going to affect you to your core, are going to light you up, are going to be things that occupy space in your mind rent free, things that people say around you, and you're going to find it very hard to be around those people because they activate you, something deep within you, in a certain way. Even a social media post from that person may be activating enough. You'll be sensitive towards other people's negative emotions and how they affect your emotions. You'll notice even things like the news. The nightly news that you used to enjoy watching now just irritates you to your core. You can't help but notice every negative aspect of it. And even with movies, when you're watching a movie, you may find that the subconscious messaging of the movie is so overly negative and draining that you just don't want to watch the movie anymore. This is very normal when you're going through an awakening. The next one is emotional turmoil. Lots of crying, anger, catharsis. The process of spiritual awakening is almost like rebirth. And no doubt, there's going to be emotional pain. There may be a heartache. There may be feelings associated towards others. There may be anger. One of the things that could really help in this situation is being able to forgive yourself for the way you have felt towards others. But walking down this path, you're going to have to make some really hard decisions. But making those decisions on the other side, you will be incredibly rewarded by the types of connections you're able to cultivate. It's been an incredible journey, and a spiritual awakening can take some time. It is a transformative phase where, like a caterpillar in a cocoon, you are going through transformational change and will eventually emerge as a beautiful being. What are some things you can do to help you through this process of awakening and to know that you should keep walking on this path? You're already doing it by watching this video. 90% of the change you're going to experience during a spiritual awakening is through awareness. And by being aware of how you feel, being kind to yourself, and knowing that you're doing the best thing for yourself, you will feel encouraged to keep walking down this path. It is also important to integrate practices like meditation, channeling your higher guides, and daily journaling to help keep you on this path and stay motivated to achieve greater and greater breakthroughs. The last thing I'll say is everything you felt through this process as you're going through it is valid. Your feelings are completely valid. And oftentimes we shame ourselves for the way we're feeling about things, especially when we're going through radical change. If you're not subscribed to the channel already, I would be deeply grateful for you to smash that subscribe button. And to the subscribers who have already subscribed to the channel, I'm deeply, deeply grateful for your support. Until next time, my friend, peace.